Welcome, dear traders. You are watching a recap of the Asian session. Following the reopening of trading floors after the long holidays, Japanese stocks dropped almost immediately. US stock futures kicked off the week with a moderate decline. However, they closed Friday with gains. This is why Australian and New Zealand stocks advanced in the morning. Meanwhile, the US macro stats are rather mixed, which affects stock and forex markets. The non-farm payrolls report published on Friday turned out to be upbeat. Concerns about a possible recession in the United States abated. The data also showed an increase in average hourly wages. It means that the Fed may continue to raise the key rate. It appears hope for a pause in monetary tightening may be in vain. However, traders also keep an eye on the other economic factors, which can hardly be called positive. For instance, they are worried about the banking crisis and the risk of a default in the United States. Market sentiment improved after JP Morgan raised the rating of some regional US banks. JP Morgan analysts upgraded Western Alliance, Zions, and America to overwine on a Friday, saying the bank stocks appear substantially mispriced to us. Janet Yellen warned that failure to raise the debt ceiling would cause a steep economic downturn in the United States. She also said that the government could run out of money to pay its bills by June. The US dollar jumped to 101.7 amid market jitters and strong non-farm data. However, it was unable to retain a bullish bias. The US dollar index has been declining since last Friday. At the start of the Asian trade, it reached 101.12. It's likely to test the support level of 101 points. The greenback has already broken through 101.10, the weekly low of April 26. After that, it managed to halt its decline. At the end of the Asian session, the US dollar consolidated in the narrow range of 101.10 and 101.30. The fact is that traders are awaiting fresh macro stats, and the United States will unveil the producer price index on a Wednesday and the producer price index on Thursday. They are sure to provide more clues about the state of the economy, so speculators will be able to predict the Fed's future plans for monetary policy more accurately. The fall in US dollar directly affects the foreign exchange reserves of other countries and dollar-denominated debt. For example, China's foreign exchange reserves climbed above $3.2 trillion in late April, logging the highest level since February 2022. Moreover, the US dollar and the yuan ended April with losses. The Chinese currency decreased versus the greenback. However, the latter shed losses against its rivals as well. The yen was rising against the US dollar until the release of non-farm payrolls. Bulls regained control, pushing it to 135. And the pair maintained upward movement at the start of the new week. Moreover, the overall short-term outlook remains bullish. On a Monday, the yen-dollar pair was moving in the channel of 134.70 and 135.30. Its trajectory was mainly driven by international factors. The minutes of the March 9 and 10 meeting once again confirmed the Bank of Japan's commitment to an ultra-loose stance. Some members saw positive signs toward achieving the 2% target. Only one of the officials spoke in favor of a more hawkish stance. He believes it's possible to adjust the yield curve in the future if inflation declines. The Australian currency remains more sensitive to external events, especially events in the United States. It advanced following a rise on Wall Street last Friday. The AUD-USD pair even tested the resistance level of 0.6790. However, it declined slightly later due to the consolidation of the US dollar. It was trading in the price corridor of 0.6740 and 0.6792. The New Zealand dollar also rose today. It has been growing for the fifth session in a row, hitting the monthly high of 0.6330. It's now up amid expectations of a rate hike by the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. The central bank will hold its meeting on May 25. Given that annual inflation in the country totaled 6.7% in the first 3 months, a rate increase looks inevitable. Therefore, the kiwi added gains in the Asian session. It's moving in the upward range of 0.6291 and 0.6332. Moreover, the US dollar index is weak after a 2-week drop amid concerns about the US debt ceiling and uncertainty of the banking sector. US President Joe Biden has already been harshly criticized for belated negotiations with the Republicans on raising the debt ceiling. However, default will lead to a disastrous outcome, and this is why there is no doubt that the government and Congress will find a solution. That's all for now. Subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with the latest market developments, and see you soon.